Hey everybody, thanks so much for clicking on the video. Today I would like to share with you my thoughts on Beyond Order, Jordan Peterson's companion to 12 Rules for Life. More liberal in its nature, it explains why change is necessary and that too much order is undesirable. It's best to have one foot on the side of order and the other on chaos. Peterson makes the case that a life lived courageously and true to yourself provides the best benefit of them all, meaning that sustains. Fraught with literary and biblical analyses that help convey psychological insights, Beyond Order proves a useful tool in understanding your psyche.
Bottom line is,
read a book, people.
The power of stories. 12 Rules for Life and Beyond Order are a yin and yang framework for how to act. What's more, they show us how to be our most authentic selves and bring meaning to our lives. But have we figured out how to act? Yes, to an extent. We at least have some guidance in the form of stories. Stories hold essential wisdom, and knowing how to properly act is essential. Joseph Campbell was able to extract the hero's journey from stories around the world. Heroes operate on the border between order and chaos. Towing the line between both gives us the best chance to integrate the best of both worlds. And we need both. Harry Potter is a good example. Harry has a good heart, knows love, and is courageous. But he also has a piece of Voldemort inside of him, in the form of a Horcrux. It's why he can talk to snakes and see into Voldemort's mind. Luke Skywalker is another example. After using his anger to defeat Darth Vader in Return of the Jedi, Luke realizes his capacity for evil, but he was not able to best Darth Vader without properly integrating his anger. Both these heroes, like all of us, possess darker aspects of themselves. Along their journeys, they integrated those aspects of themselves. They were in control of them, and it made them more formidable. Take action and don't betray yourself. The book expands upon one of the most popular Petersonisms, adopting responsibility. He's explained in the past how adopting responsibility for your life can be one of the most inspirational mindsets we can have. It's very likely that no one else will adopt responsibility for your life, especially in the way that you can. Social media has conditioned us to be patient enough for immediate gratification. We have an endless supply of dopamine waiting in our pockets. This often creates a substantial barrier between what we know we should do and what we end up doing. We take the short-term hit of dopamine and end up sacrificing our future potential. We also tend to shirk responsibility for the things we know we should do because we're scared to do them. The fear I sometimes get is that if I choose a path to pursue, it means I have to forego all other paths. And a quote from the book sort of addresses this. It says, quote, "If you work as hard as you can on one thing, you will change. You will also start to become one thing, instead of the clamoring multitude you once were." How am I supposed to be interested in one thing when I'm interested in many things? But if you think it through and claim that progress is what you're truly aiming at, you can't remain anything and become nothing. And doubt may creep into your head about what you've chosen to become. But how do you know your doubt is a reliable guide? How much of your doubt comes from fear? How much of your fear comes from uncertainty? How many of life's decisions can you expect to make with full certainty? See, doubt can be a useful tool to sort of poke and prod our ideas with, but should it be the feeling that wields most or all of our decision-making power? Peterson notes that the Bible offers wisdom in moving forward forthrightly and courageously in Matthew chapter 7, verses 7 through 8, where it says, quote, "Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it will be opened." To ask, seek, and knock is to do everything required to gather what has been left unfinished and to complete it now. To ask, seek, and knock is also to determine what is worth asking for, to investigate and aim upward. Whatever you ask must also be true to your being and substantial. In biblical terms, it must be worthy of God, because how could what you seek be granted if it's not worthy of God? Can't we all just get along? What is the overarching structure that brings people together? The world is rife with conflict. As we've seen most recently, Human nature can and will turn to tribalism, especially when the going gets tough. That instinct is hard to fight. It served our ancestors well, and evolution has embedded it deep within us. But we do have bouts of peace within our tribes and with others. How does this happen? Sure, you could explain how peace might be achieved within your own tribe, but what explains your ability to get along with an outsider? The low-resolution answer to this is, we're all human. We're the same species, so the golden rule should apply to all. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. I mean, sometimes we don't even respect members of our own tribe. In order to maintain peace over time, our multiple cultures used buffers, like laws, borders, and religions. One of the buffers that serves, or perhaps served, to unite the West is Christianity. Peterson provides an interesting explanation as to how Christianity came to be. Multiple civilizations, including Egypt, Rome, and Greece, created multiple gods to represent and watch over various parts of their culture. Over time, the people told stories of some of the gods battling with each other. The strongest gods survived or merged with each other. This is why Christ is referred to as the King of Kings. If you took all the desirable aspects of the gods and consolidated them into one thing, you would get a Christ-like figure. When people of different backgrounds are required to coexist, configuring their gods into a hierarchy establishes a value system that the collective can agree upon. Distilling godly traits down to the most desirable traits that all gods share is essentially figuring out what God is. Humanity, as divided as it can be, needs unidimensional values so it can derive a common code of ethics from socially organized structures. Our state of relative peace becomes all too fragile without it. Europe and the West consolidated their values under the banner of Christianity. In the East, Buddhism and Hinduism are just two religions that have brought some semblance of peace. Peterson makes the case that this peace would not exist in the absence of any doctrine. Quote, "In any case, the rules of Christianity and the rules of Buddhism are by no means arbitrary, by no means nonsensical superstition, any more than the rules of a playable game are merely arbitrary or nonsensically superstitious. To think that peace can exist without the overarching and voluntarily accepted game is to misunderstand the ever-present danger of the fragmented tribalism to which we can so easily and devastatingly regress. Other social institutions, like government and corporations, serve similar functions in keeping society together. It's not arbitrary that many religious ethics are embedded in Western governments, but we need these institutions to flourish and provide a hierarchy of shared values. They allow our culture to work under a united banner when working properly. Ideology is insufficient. As Friedrich Nietzsche famously said, God is dead, Peterson declares in this book, ideology is dead. The bloody excesses of the 20th century killed it. Yes, its ideas made the world simpler. Every problem had one solution. The poor are poor because the rich are oppressive and have taken everything from them. Economic equality of any kind is undesirable no matter why it exists. The upper and middle class must be eradicated. That was the Marxist ideology that possessed Vladimir Lenin and Joseph Stalin to kill tens of millions of people in Russia's Soviet Union. The world is too chaotic and disorganized. Absolute order and purity must be sought. One Aryan race to rule them all will facilitate this and help root out the pests. That was the extreme right-wing ideology utilized by Adolf Hitler that killed tens of millions of people in Nazi Germany and across Europe. We should let ideology go. The issues plaguing our world today are not trivial. What's easier and more productive is to break them down into smaller, bite-sized portions so we can appropriately think about solving them. Is inequality a problem? Maybe. Let's first figure out why it exists before we run it through a Marxist algorithm. We might learn a few things that influence a more nuanced approach. To some degree, we all fall into the simplicity trap because it offers the least resistance. But if we talk to people with different opinions, we may be able to avoid defaulting to simplicity and avoid the accompanying blindness. Broadly speaking, conservatives are needed to maintain our social institutions when they're working, and change might be dangerous. Liberals are needed to innovate, reinvigorate, and create new institutions when the current ones fail. But it's not so cut and dry to determine when an institution is working or not. This is why we have to maintain a constant dialogue with one another. Not only that, but an open and honest dialogue. This is why freedom of speech is not a right, it's the right. How do we expect to keep society moving upward if we can't speak freely and truthfully with one another? So what is the path forward in balancing respect for social institutions and the change that must occur over time? The hero's journey is about venturing into the unknown, confronting fear, and taking on challenges forthrightly. The world beyond order will present us with knowledge and experience far beyond our wildest dreams, if we choose to go on that adventure. But chaos without order, that's just chaos. We must carefully walk the line between them.